So as a commercial real estate investor, HAR is absolutely critical for me, saving time, locating properties, and narrowing down viable properties immediately, and figure out exactly which one's the best to invest in before somebody else gets to it.
So I work in commercial real estate. One quiet Friday evening, I get a call. A man wants to see one of my retail centers after hours. No other tenants around. He's insistent, pushy even. Says it has to be tonight. He can't go any other time. Every instinct in me said, something's just not right. So before I agreed, I ran his name through forewarn. What came back stopped me cold. Armed robbery, assault, multiple felonies, guns, drugs, violence, over 25 counts. This man wanted me alone in a virtually empty building at night. I didn't go. Because forewarn gave me the truth. And maybe saved my life. In real estate, we meet strangers every day, but we don't have to meet them blind. Forewarn takes seconds, and it could be the difference between showing a property and not coming home. So know before you go.
Hey everyone, Jeremy Fain here, your 2025 HAR Engage Advisory Group Chair. I've got some exciting news. Tickets for 2025 HAR Engage Conference are officially on sale. This is the event to recharge your business, gain fresh insights, and connect with incredible professionals across our industry. Whether you're just starting your real estate journey or you're a seasoned pro, HAR Engage has something for everyone. Plus, with countless networking opportunities, you'll connect with tons of like-minded real estate professionals. Don't wait. Grab your tickets now at har.com/engage and get ready to be inspired. I'll see you there.
Realtors, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is on November 20th.
At the Houston Community Collective from 9:30 to 3:30, it's the 2025 Housing Symposium, and it's going live.
The theme, mission, possible. The challenge, Houston's housing market. The objective, actionable strategies and real results.
You'll hear from expert speakers, dive into panel discussions, and get insights from the leaders shaping the future of housing.
Network with the top professionals, tackle critical issues, and leave ready to make an impact. Every move counts.
So mark your calendars. Gear up. The 2025 Housing Symposium, Mission Possible.
And remember, failure is not an option.
I think when I started using HR.com, it just felt a lot more local. So having that local approach with more information about living in this area, that was important, information that I wasn't seeing elsewhere. I found my dream home. I love living here, and it's all because of HR.com.
Good morning and welcome to Member Focus Monday. I'm Christina Schaefer, Director of Social Media and Sponsorships for HAR. As we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, we are shining a spotlight on Hispanic homeownership, looking at the progress that's been made, barriers that still exist, and how realtors can play a meaningful role in expanding access to the American dream. Joining me today are leaders from our local NAHREP chapters who are doing this work every day to educate, empower, and advocate for Hispanic homebuyers. It's a conversation about community, opportunity, and the responsibility that we all share as industry professionals. I'm very excited to be joined by this panel today, so welcome each of you to the program.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Absolutely. Well, let's start with some very quick introductions. If each of you could share your name, the NAHREP chapter that you represent, and your current role within that chapter. We could start with you, Daisy.
Good morning, Christina. Good morning, everyone out there. So my name is Daisy Cohn. I am the proud president of the NAHREP North Houston chapter.
Very good. Thank you so much. And Jose?
My name is Jose Hoya. I'm the current NAHREP Katy West Houston chapter president. Thank you for allowing us to be here.
Absolutely. And Olga.
Good morning, Christina and everyone. My name is Olga Lozano, and I am the current NAHREP president for Houston.
Very good. Thank you so much. And it's wonderful that we have representation from different parts of town. We'll talk more about some of the things that you offer members if they would like to participate, whether they're local or they want to drive to you. Either way, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's jump in and talk about the latest State of Hispanic Homeownership report. I just love this report. I think it's wonderful that NAHREP puts it together each year. It gives a very clear picture of Hispanic homeownership. It shows that while the number of Hispanic homeowners reached a record high, the overall homeownership rate declined slightly. Olga, what does this tell us about the broader story behind these numbers?
Great question, Christina. Now, obviously, our Hispanic community believes in homeownership. They believe it's the gateway to the middle class and ultimately building that generational wealth for themselves and their family. The slight decline can obviously be attributed to the affordability crisis that we're well aware of, coupled with the interest rates that we've seen. You know, a lot of the buyers have decided to sit on the sidelines and kind of wait it out. In addition to some of the access challenges that they have been experiencing even earlier this year. Also, the slight dip might be attributed to also our Hispanic households have really outpaced the number of Hispanic homeowners. But we are very, very committed to Hispanic homeownership. We believe in the value, and we're always here to help them in that journey.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Now, Jose, the report also points to rising home prices, as Olga mentioned, and interest rates as key barriers to affordability. In your view, what kind of policy or lending changes would make the biggest difference in closing that gap?
So, first off, definitely, interest rates is one of the more talk about issues in the housing market right now. But honestly, if we don't adjust correctly, we may actually have a bigger issue because Freddie Mac is actually calling for 3.7 million housing units to be added, or that we're short, right? So even though if we reduce the interest rates and more people get to buy, those homes are going to fly off the market and we're going to be back into a shortage. So before we actually fix the interest rate, we should also fix some of the housing supplies. Part of that, we can do a couple of different things. I commend the city of Houston. They expended for more duplexes, for ADUs, for smaller single lots usage. So that's great. That's happening in Houston. Now, can that be expanded into different areas in our metro? Definitely, right? The Katy area, the Rosenberg area, to where allow more smaller units to be available, which also mean reduce costs. Also, another policy that may help is incentivize builders, right? Incentivize the builders to build and not just build, on their back end, but maybe have access to credit for builders to allow to build, smaller single family homes, to bring affordability to the market. A lot of times builders don't build these smaller homes because it's like, why am I going to build a smaller home? The net margins are not there. So then they go build what makes sense to them, right? So we can have a policy that helps that. We can also give tax credits to current homeowners who don't want to sell their home because they're like, I don't want to pay this large capital gain taxes, right? Which we're seeing that from the current administration. Another thing that we can definitely see, it's more part of the building portion of it, and I wanted to mention this, and I'll be quick to it. Support workforce and immigration reform and construction. NAHREP noted that construction industry needed about 439,000 new workers in 2025. So we have a shortage in construction workforce. And I think the current, policies that are being placed on hold on immigration are actually going to hurt us in the long run. They may be seen as good in the current situation, but we won't see the effect of them until later on, until the rates do drop and people are buying. Now we build more homes and we're actually short. We're already short. We're closing the gap. I want to say I think about 54% of the construction force is actually undocumented in Texas. That's a large number. So meaning more than half of the construction labor is undocumented when the current administration's policies to actually hurt the Latino community, which the Latino community tends to be one of the largest undocumented. But we also see that undocumented is actually part of the construction force. So more comprehensive immigration reforms and less demonization on our communities.
Thank you. Thank you so much for explaining that. Now, Daisy, aside from what we've already mentioned with affordability and interest rates, what are some of the most common challenges that you see Hispanic homebuyers face, whether it be financing, education, navigating the process? What do we see the most?
I think there's actually a little bit in each. So for financing, a lot of it can be limited access to traditional credit. So many of our Hispanic buyers don't have, long established, credit histories. They might rely on alternative forms of credit, like paying rent or your utilities on time. And there's often lenders that overlook that. So making sure that you have a lender that's there, that understands, the needs and the struggles, and that is able to work and, fully, be engaged with that buyer. Just also making sure, that your buyers know they don't have to have that 20% down. You don't have to have that perfect credit score. And sometimes that discourages them. A lot of it is honestly education and, awareness. So first time buyers in particular, they may not have family members who have purchased before. So they rely heavily on their real estate agent, on their lender for guidance. The language barrier is also something, that we see, just because it's really a matter of being able to push on that cultural, trust and relationships. Buyers prefer working with professionals who genuinely understand their community and can communicate with them. And then, just underrepresentation, Hispanic buyers, at times they struggle, to find professionals, whether it's a real estate agent, whether it's a lender, an inspector, someone that they can trust to speak their language or understand their, what they're, truly trying to search for. And then, also just documentation, related issues, because there are so many buyers out there who are using I-10 loans, who are self-employed, and often they face, additional paperwork and documentation, and just a little more, due diligence where, just to make sure that they have the means to purchase. And all of those, when combined, can seem like a significant hurdle. And that's where they rely on the real estate professional to make sure to guide them and kind of handhold them through this process.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And one other thing, and it really speaks to the importance of working with a realtor, one other thing that we've seen is because of the language barrier or the lack of education with the process, sometimes this community is often fall victim to scams, real estate scams. So, again, the importance of working with a realtor to guide them so that does not happen is so important. So thank you for that answer, Daisy. Olga, Daisy mentioned, obviously the language barrier. Are there cultural or language specific factors that realtors should be more aware of when serving Hispanic clients?
Yes, thank you. Just touching on what Daisy mentioned, obviously when dealing with our culture, especially those, they have to understand when it comes to us, we are a family-centered culture. So although your client just might have one name on that contract, trust and believe there is a network behind them giving them their opinion. Also, they seek that validation sometimes, and so it could be parents, siblings, extended family, even like tias and tios, just chiming in and kind of, help guiding them on one of the most important decisions that they'll make. So just know that family is important. Pack some patience if your client shows up with, more than you expected because it's important to them. Also, as far as Spanish is concerned, I know not everyone might know Spanish, but it really, if your client also understands and is completely fluent and bilingual, they seek comfort in hearing, your professional speak Spanish, or even trying. If you're making an effort, they really, because it shows that you care about them, which leads into what Daisy mentioned, relationships. We are all about relationships, because we're not going to trust you if we have not built that relationship. And it really comes from asking all those questions. Why are you looking for a home? Why is it important to you? And then once you they build that rapport and they trust you, we're also incredibly loyal. They will work for you and speak nothing but praises to everyone about you. So I would say keep those cultural traits for our community in mind when dealing with our community as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, and just wanted to mention your point about the language. If you're not fluent, but you're trying, and then they'll take that from you. I did want to just briefly mention that HAR started offering Hola conversational Spanish for realtors this year, and that's been a really successful class. I'm sure we can share a link to it in the comments for anyone who's interested. But again, as you're saying, there's the Hispanic community. They're going to want that help, and they're going to be loyal, as you said. But being able to communicate with them a little more clearly is obviously important too. So thank you. Jose, how important is education? We've been talking a little bit about it already, but for consumers and realtors in overcoming some of the systemic barriers?
It's really important. I get invited ever so often to teach the Houston Urban League, right? So HUD, so the Houston version of HUD. I teach buyers, I educate them, but I tend to educate them in English. Sometimes there are Hispanics on there, but a lot of times it's different demographics, right? I would love to see more Hispanic, or actually maybe a Spanish version of that. And I'm sure there is, but maybe, I don't know if it's coming from HUD. Maybe some other nonprofits are putting these together. And I think part of it as a realtor, we need to bridge the gap from being, just a realtor as an educator and advocate, right? We educate, but we also have to advocate for our communities, for more access to, like I mentioned, to credit, and more access to it. I think one thing that I can tell realtors, especially those realtors who are really smart and can speak well, get on social media. I know we love showing homes. I know we love, doing the tours. But it doesn't matter if you're showing a beautiful home or an affordable home if the consumer doesn't even understand how to get to it, right? How to get to you. And a lot of the times I just showed a home this weekend, and the buyer, through prospecting, the buyer's like, yeah, I saw this video on TikTok. Yeah, they were talking about your compensation. So as much as we think that a consumer doesn't know, the consumer is actually being informed through TikTok, which it can be a double-edged sword, right? Because they can get really great information from great realtors, or they can get really, really, excuse the French, crap information from maybe not realtors or realtors who are more on the negative side of things, right? More fear mongering, the world is falling, So be the advocate on social media. Your consumers are on TikTok. Right now, I think the NAR said that 73% of realtors didn't sell a home last year. A lot of people, I see a lot of realtors on, the market is slow. Okay, but what are we doing to reach out to those consumers? What are we doing to educate them, to then make them feel confident? And once you start having this conversation, you realize that they are consuming information. But are they consuming the right information? And why are you not the one educating them, right? So be an advocate. Educate. Put first-time buyer seminars together. Host them at the office. Right? Go back to the grassroots of doing real estate and reaching your communities, not just touring homes, showing beautiful homes, and modeling we're models. It's all good. I do it as well, right? We all do it. But I think we forget the essence of what home ownership is. It's you change someone's life, right? You change the wealth gap in a Latino family, and any family. You change that wealth gap. This shows that homeowners are more wealthier than renters. Simple. It's not a debate, right? If you're a homeowner, you're creating a generational wealth for your family. So that's the message that we should be advocating. How to buy, why to buy. When I teach the HUD classes, I get straight to the heart of things. Why do you want to own? And people are like, it's stability. I want a better school district. But there's a lot of emotion to it. It's not just, I want the pretty house, which is subsurface, but the deep surface of thing is, it will change the life of my family. And that should be the message that we should be portraying.
Thank you so much for that. If there are any questions for our panelists, type them in. I do want to highlight a few comments. Of course, there are people cheering you on and shouting you guys out for each of you. People that are a part of your groups who know you are making some comments. A couple things I wanted to highlight. Sandra said, believe it or not, all my millionaire clients are Hispanic. They're one of my favorite people to work with. In addition, they are loyal, as we stated, so that's great to hear. Janet had a comment here. I've had a few Hispanic clients, and what I find is they are very loyal once they feel comfortable with you. The language barrier is an issue. In my experience, usually the children will come to every showing and be the interpreter for the parent or relative. I always I get that, and I love it, and I love how they explain the process so everybody understands. So some great comments coming in. If you have any questions for our panelists, type those in and we'll get to them. Daisy, what advice do you have for realtors who want to build trust, because we're talking about how important that is here, and be a more informed resource for Hispanic buyers?
The big thing is honestly, and I know it sounds simple, but be authentic with your relationship building. So especially in, when dealing with, Hispanic, clients, trust is earned through a genuine connection, not a sales pitch. So take time, with every one of your clients to understand their needs, their priorities, their expectations. What do you expect from them? What do they expect out of you? Their cultural values and their long-term goals, and be consistent and visible in the community. Go out there, partner with, organizations such as NAHREP, your local, chamber, and sponsor local events, sponsor, your whether it's your child or not. Go to some of these schools throughout Houston, sponsor a lunch for some teachers, volunteer, partner with the Hispanic community, because the big thing is presence builds credibility. Follow up, personally. In many of these Hispanic cultures, relationships are going to extend beyond the transaction. So, a check-in, after closing, be present. You never know, you might get invited to that carne asada. Hey, and just staying informed and data driven, stay on top of current affordability, lending data for your area, especially, within Houston, the way, certain areas that are just completely blowing up with new development. Stay current as to what's going on, understand loan programs that, are going to fit, certain buyers, whether it's FHA, USDA, VA, I-10, any type of down payment assistance. And really the big thing is that the Hispanic community values servant leadership, being of service, not just in business, but in your community presence. That's definitely
Excellent. Thank you so much. And of course, that is the goal, to get invited to the carne asada. So very good. Just another comment that came in from Janet. She said, I also noticed that my Hispanic clients prefer face-to-face, in-person connection. So like you're saying, Daisy, get out there in the community, right? Versus just seeing you online and social media. So definitely agree with that. What, Olga, what kind of progress have you seen locally when it comes to Hispanic home ownership?
I was thinking, first of all, we have so many Latino professionals, and we're Houston, right? So it doesn't take too much, which warms my heart, because that means we're serving our community in the language they prefer. Also, if we're not anything, Christina, we are creative and resilient community. If we get shut down and we cannot afford a house, guess what? You get another family member and then buy a house together. A lot of multi-generational, also the duplexes that Jose, I had a client earlier this year, it was brother and sister, and 23 and 21, barely turning 21, decided to buy a house together because they saw the value in being homeowners and starting to build that wealth at such a young age. So I do feel that what Jose said, a lot of information is getting out there through the social media. So a lot of the buyers are becoming younger and really just going, if they're able to. If not, they find a creative way. Also, mortgage lenders really have been working hard to educate our community and really get the word out there. Let them know if it's not no, if it's not no, it's maybe not right now. Provide that education, help them, keep them engaged, so that they just don't give up hope and be like, oh, homeownership is not for me. No, if there's a will, there's a way. It just might take a little bit more time. But yeah, a lot of our sponsors, all three of our chapters are sponsored by people who put out constant workshops for homeowners, and so that we're grateful, being creative and keeping that hope alive for the homeownership for our community. I always think is great.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, I know we've touched on a few of these, Jose, but if you have anything else to add, what do you see as some of the biggest obstacles to sustainable homeownership here in our city? And also, what gives you hope?
Yeah, some of the same issues, right? Affordability, price points where people feel comfortable. One of the things that I've read is that even though the cost of living has gone up, people's salaries have not increased, so the demand. So yeah, there's housing, there's plenty of inventory, but people are like, I can't afford a $3,000 mortgage, right? The rate between 6 and 7.25 have cut purchasing power by 25 to 30%. On the community. This weekend I did show a great large master plan community, Wayside Village, where you have Lennar, you have LGI, you have Legend Homes, about 20 minutes from the Houston area. I would love to see more of those master plan communities in Houston, which you don't have to move an hour away. Right. When I talk to my Hispanic buyers, right, this just so happens that's the majority I serve, and I also serve majority first-time buyers. I'm like, man, look, are you willing to commute an hour away? Because that's the reality of it, right? Are you willing to move an hour away to accomplish the dream of homeownership? And guess what? They do it. They do it. They're willing to commute an hour away. Why? Because you have affordable housing, you have lower interest rates, you have a lower cost of insurance as well, right? There's a lot of determining factors. The cost of insurance, no one's really talking about it. I mean, you hear here and there, insurance is really expensive. And so there's a lot of things that we can do to tackle it. I think definitely the reduction of interest rates, but it pushed forward for more affordable housing to be built in the area, something similar to Wayside Village. And if you haven't gone to Wayside Village, go. You will see the changing of our city. Sometimes we use the word gentrification in a negative tone, but I think sometimes we need change in our city to beautify it, to bring more housing. And what Wayside Village, Lennar, Starlight Homes, Legend Homes, LGI, what they're doing and developing the area, I think that's great. We need to support the larger builders who are willing to do it with maybe land that's available in the city that can be used for affordable housing, incentivized. So I think that would tackle it. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, it's not just reducing the interest rates, but it also brings solution to the already shortage of inventory that we have.
Makes sense. Thank you so much. We had a question come in from Ruth. She was asking, as an agent, sharing correct information, what and where is a good resource, and where can agents go to stay informed and educated? Does anyone want to jump in on this one?
Come to our chapter events. Come, you have, each of our chapter puts 4 anchor events throughout the city. So that means you have 12 events throughout the year from Katy, North, and Central Houston. And there's a big surprise. There's something happening on the East End that will be announced. So honestly, as a realtor, you don't really have the excuse not to be educated, right? Come to the events, you'll learn about the report, the homeownership report. There's another report that NAHREP launches, which is the wealth building report, where we looked at the statistics, where you'll be able to highlight some of these key components. And if you like what you hear, then join us in DC when we go advocate, for policies that will impact us. When we go to the Texas Capitol on Realtor Day, and also as we get involved locally. And I'll let Daisy and Olga speak.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely, to what Jose said, get involved, with your local chapters. Continue to invest in yourself. Think about it. As a real estate agent, you have to constantly be on top of everything that's changing. There's always no new programs that are, coming out. And then just make sure that you have that lender, or a handful of lenders that you have a great relationship with, who will let you know, hey, this is what's coming up. This is what's, going out. Make sure, that you're letting your clients know. A big part of it is, staying engaged, with, whether it's, NAHREP. NAHREP is definitely going to be a great resource. Tap in, to all 3 chapters, and to our actual national chapter online as well. Just to see what's going on. Make sure, you're following us on, socials, and, just to see everything that's trending, what's coming up, what the big, emphasis is, and, that we can start, looking into for the future.
Absolutely, Daisy. Just to chime in, I know somewhere in the chat there's probably the link to the Hispanic Homeownership Report. That is chock full of so much great information about our community. I invite you to download it and read through it, so that someone described it literally as your playbook to our community, because it tells you where we've been, where we're going. A lot of great information. And as Jose and Daisy mentioned, get involved with one of our chapters and really stay on top of all those things. It's a lot of great information. And not only that, I'm sure we'll speak about it, but it's a great way to connect with other professionals that are passionate about serving our Hispanic community.
Very good. Thank you so much. Daisy, we've made a lot of suggestions today, but what is one thing that a realtor can do today to make a meaningful impact in their local Hispanic community?
Oh my goodness, this is a great one. So host a free, this one's easy, a free homeownership first-time buyers, education seminar in English and Spanish. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but it has to be accessible. So partner with, a trusted local lender, a title company, any type of community group, and it's honestly going to come back, tenfold, because you have to remember, education is empowerment. And so many Hispanic families don't want to buy, or they don't know where to begin, or maybe they think they can't qualify. Maybe they think, what, I just have, an ITIN number, I'm not, a citizen. I can't purchase here. Education is seriously key. A 1-hour class, that kind of demystifies, credit, down payments, loan options. Think of how many lives you can change by, doing something like that. And more than anything, it's going to build trust. So being able to provide value without asking for business in return, because that's all you're doing. You're just providing value, to, your audience. You become a trusted advisor. You don't just become another real estate agent. Getting out there, able to get connected to your community, open generational, doors. And, you never know who you'll be able to meet, other business owners. And then, you're being able to support, other businesses by doing that. But yeah, I mean, something like that is, so simple. We have them, host them all the time, within our board and, brokerages. But oh my goodness, that would be able to provide so much value to, so many people out there.
Excellent suggestion. Thank you so much. I'd love to hear from each of you on this next one, because I want to hear what your NAHREP chapter is doing to support the Hispanic community, and of course of any upcoming events or resources, and just anything else that people should know about your chapter. So Olga, why don't we start with you on this one?
Great question, Christina. So our chapter is committed to educating our members with any policy changes, any lending opportunities, anything that can better help their clients. But as business owners, ultimately, realtors are business owners. We want to provide opportunities for our members to connect with other people, other Hispanic business owners as well, and continue to grow, because we're also here to grow professionally and personally. Also, we are, as connectors realtors are the ultimate connectors, right? And being prepared, knowing that contact that your client will randomly ask you has nothing to do with the home that they bought, but it's always great to have someone to be able to recommend to them. And also further, it goes a long way, because then they'll come to you for a resource all over, and again, a trusted advisor. And as far as upcoming event, we actually have one on Thursday. It's October 9th. It's Behind the Build, and it revolves around 3 developers in the area, 2 here in and around Houston and 1 international. And we invite anyone to come out so you can see the future development of Houston and get to connect and really be in the know of who's building where, what price points, and also opportunities that can be had internationally. That's like a really hot market right now as well. So Thursday, October 9th, Behind the Build. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Jose?
You know, I think as a collective, when it comes down to NAHREP and being a board director, you know, we have to go attend our conferences in DC and in San Diego. So we invested a lot in ourselves. You know, one of the things that when I go to DC and I hear Gary Acosta, our current CEO and president of NAHREP, you know, he just pours onto us the information what's going on. He filters a lot of it. He makes us understand what's going on, you know, at the federal level. And then we kind of come down and kind of compare what's going on at the local level, right? And what we do, of course, we are industry leading on education. So we educate our realtors, our lender, our inspectors. We don't really go grassroots to the consumer, but we go through the people who service the consumer to make sure that they're educating on the loan programs, right? How to service I-10, and also educated on what's going on in policy. You know, this year I'll also sit as a government affair for HAR. I also stayed with YPN as well. So this year I did take a lot on my plate, but I also wanted to bridge that gap between NAHREP, HAR, and HR is an amazing job of bridging in everyone together with the other affiliate organizations. So I thank HAR and the leadership for what they're doing. I'm super proud to be part of HAR. And I don't say that because I'm here on this platform. I say that because I'm living it, right? I go to I go to, you know, affairs, you know, and you know, we also have to be aware. We have to like advocate on what's going on. Like one of the changes that's happened this year that I know it's affecting a lot of our buyers, it's that they're no longer allowing DACA recipients, CPS recipients to have access to FHA loans, which have access to down payment assistance. So now, you know, being in Texas, being in Houston, one of the largest cities for DACA recipients, which I serve as recipients, someone like close friends have bought a home about 2 years ago. They were able to make the home ownership dream a reality, even being DACA through an FHA program, right? So some of the policies that are happening right now are actually affecting us. And I don't think we're really advocating, really having sensible, you know, conversations about it. Because I know a lot of times it's like, oh, we shouldn't talk about that. It's a little taboo. No, it's not taboo. If it impacts our economy and it hurts our pockets, then we should talk about it, right? You know, taking away the ability or making it more difficult for a Latino family, someone like DACA who's been here many years. And I can tell you my personal story. I was brought here from Honduras when I was 4 years old as an undocumented kid with my parents. You know, I'm now a resident of this beautiful country. And, you know, it's kind of saddening and heartbreaking that if I would have not been married to my wife and been a resident, I would not be able to use an FHA loan, right, to buy my home. Conventional, then we'll have to need more capital. Then that means, you know, it's extra hurdles of obstacles, but you need credit score, you need less debt to income. So while we're advocating for more affordability, what's going on right now, it's actually the opposite. They're making it a little bit more challenging, a little bit more difficult. These are the sensible conversations that we should have, and not be afraid to talk about it.
Thank you so much. Daisy, tell us what's going on with NAHREP North.
Well, with North Houston, our mission, you know, of course, has always been clear, you know, to advance and empower Hispanic home buyers through education, sustainable home ownership. And so, definitely, with Jose and Olga have been saying, you know, we're not just a professional organization, we're a community. We connect and we believe, you know, lifting each other up, helping families, you know, build generational wealth through real estate. I mean, because think about it, that's really where it is now. I mean, our buyers are becoming younger and younger. And, we need to make sure that we are there for them, that we are here to advocate for them. Our chapter is working year round, to partner with local organizations in the community and small businesses to bring resources and guidance to families who don't know where to start. So, really, this is about meeting people where they are in their language, on their terms, and giving them the confidence to take that first step towards, home ownership. Our chapter has been very intentional about hosting events that don't just bring, value to professionals, but, that our professionals can turn around and give to the consumers. So we had, a Battle of the Brokers event, out there in July. We had close to 300 attendees. We have a financing fiesta, coming up on Wednesday, October 8th at Augusta Pines Golf Course from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. So this is going to be educational and interactive, but it would be so great and it's so informative because you can connect directly with lenders and learn about financing options. You need a commercial lender, you need I-10, you need, DACA, well, not DACA, but if you need no doc, I mean, everything that we have out there, we thought about absolutely everything across the spectrum, and we're bringing them in, and education doesn't have to be intimidating, Christina. We are making that process approachable, we're making it informative, and we're making it fun with, being able to take something away from it. And like I said, we are really excited, we're proud to be, helping families build generational wealth through real estate and bringing that for years to come.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we've been sharing links to the events they've mentioned in the comments. We've also been sharing their websites, their social medias for each of these chapters. You can go follow them and stay connected so that you know about what they have going on throughout the year. Well, I have one more question for each of you, and I think it's an important one. And Daisy, we'll start with you on this one. But what does this conversation and Hispanic Heritage Month mean to you personally?
To me, it's a lot about honoring, where we come from, using that strength to build something that's lasting for future generations. Not just as a Latina, and as a real estate professional, but I mean, our community is so full of people with incredible drive and incredible heart. And it's just, they just need someone to walk alongside them through this process. I think about, when my parents first purchased their home, 40 years ago, and how resourceful it would have been to have the knowledge that I have now be shared with them back then. Things would be so different. It's really about celebrating our culture, our resilience, and honestly, our faith. Opening doors so more Hispanic families can experience the power and the joy of home ownership. It's not just about buying a house. It's about creating, stability, pride, legacy, and truly making that a home.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Jose?
Celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month is, it hit homes, right? It hits home, right? It hits home from an immigrant standpoint, it hits home from a real estate professional, going to Daisy's stability, part of my story. And sometimes, the best way to relate to someone is through your own story. Growing up as an immigrant kid in the Southeast Houston next to Harvey Airport, I have about 13 addresses attached to my name because my parents moved around apartments for affordability, right? And it wasn't until I got married, until my 27 years old, that I finally bought a home. And I started making roots, now I'm creating generational wealth. So now the message this month and every month, so forth, it's you can do it. You can buy. Don't limit yourself because you're Hispanic or an immigrant or your parents don't own a home. They don't know how to start. And that's where we become advocates. We advocate for our community, right? One of the statistics that I love to share is that 70% of net new home buyers in the next 20 years are going to be of Hispanic descent. So when it comes down to the conversation that we're having right now, this isn't just about the Hispanic community, right? This is about the American economy. And what we know about the American economy is that when someone buys a home, they create generational wealth, they stimulate the economy. So if Hispanics and Latino are not buying home, guess what's going to happen to the economy? It's going to hurt. So it's not just about rural Latinos, it's about how do we impact the American economy, right? That's it, And if Latino home buyers are buying, the American economy is growing and we're pushing forward and progressing. And if we're not, then we're gonna have some issues. And I think, I don't want to sound like the alarmist, but that's what the statistics show. You can't debate numbers, you can't debate percentages. That's the reality of it, right? So this month, Hispanic Heritage Month, as a realtor, advocating for my community, for home ownership, for affordability, and for families to create roots, deeper roots into the ones they already have.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And last but not least, Olga.
Oh my God, how do I follow that up? So
with passion, I love what you do, Olga.
I know. So Hispanic Heritage Month is always so special to me. It makes you stop and really appreciate the fabric of our community. We're all so different, but just the same, really. Deep down, we're the same. We care, our values are very much aligned, family, faith, and personally, I take a moment to really appreciate where we've come, like my parents immigrating here and then buying that one little tiny house for $11,000 forever ago, and giving us a home and really giving us that security, that sense of safety. But also taking a moment to celebrate our community across all of them and all of our cultural differences, but also recommitting to moving forward, right? Like helping all the trials that we've been through, all the hurdles that we've had to overcome, put out that hand to help the person in need. And it's something that I hold dearly, definitely always here to serve our community.
Well, thank you to each of you. We have comments flooding in. Everybody's loving what you're saying. I think we're truly inspiring some people today. So I thank you, each of you, for that. And I just wanted to share one more comment that came in from Teresa Hill. She said, as the HAR chair-elect, I would like to thank NAHREP for their continued leadership in our industry. And I assure you, HAR will continue to foster our relationship with you all. So thank you, Teresa, for that comment.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us today.
Absolutely. I just want to thank each of you one more time today for sharing your time, your insights, and your passion. And it really shines through and highlighted the importance of education and serving the Hispanic community. So again, as we said, that today Hispanic homeownership is growing, but the challenges remain, and realtors have the power to make a difference through education, advocacy, and relationships. So let's keep the momentum going, not just in Hispanic Homeownership Month, but all year long. And again, thank you to each of you. And before we go next week, we will hear about Comgate and commercial listings on HR.com from Comgate's Senior Account Manager, Anthony Petrie. So be sure to tune in. We will see you all next time. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.